I had a low self-esteem. It was very, very low. And sometimes when we need to go out with friends, when we need to take pictures, I was feeling like my friends were looking better than me. And I was feeling shy when I take pictures. I had to pull the t-shirt that I'm wearing. I had to pull it down so that it can cover. Sometimes doesn't want to cover, it just want to go up. Sometimes it's standing like you don't even understand ukuthi ime kanjani. Uthola ngathi ime so. So I decided, you know what, let me go and do a mommy makeover. Ukuthi ngikhone ukubuyisa my self esteem, ukuthi it must come back. Nami ngikhona ukuthi manginabantu ni feel comfortable. Sometimes you feel like even bahleka into zabo, they are laughing their own things. It feel like they are laughing at you, like, oh, who's that big lady? And sometimes it's not even like that.
So a mommy makeover is really a term that's used to describe a combination of procedures, really to address the changes that's occurred after pregnancy, particularly the breasts and also the tummy. And then when the pregnancy is over and the hormones normalize again, then those tissues shrink again. Typically, there could be a lot of stretch of the ligaments, the tissues that keep the breasts higher up on the chest wall, and that results in the breasts to sag, and also the tummy to stretch with a lot of stretched skin.
One day I was at the club with a friend. A friend told me that there's a certain doctor called Dr. Dion. Can you go and try Dion? Just because you are already say you've been to 10 doctors, I think Dion will perform the surgery. And I called, they asked me to send them pictures through online, and I did. Then they sent me a code. They asked me if I approve the code, they will book me to come and see the doctor. I approved the code. Then I came to see the doctor, but I was not even sure that the doctor will do the surgery. Even the day I was coming, like, yo, I was so scared. Like maybe the doctor will say, oh, wow. The same doctors will say, oh, you are big, I can't perform the surgery. But when I came in, the doctor say, I will perform the surgery. You are young, you are healthy. I don't see anything that will stop me to perform the surgery. The first surgery was a tummy tuck, a BBL, Brazilian butt lift, and a Lipo 360. I did arms and I did a breast reduction, and I did my chin.
Nthabiseng will attest and remember that she had quite an excess of skin that was hanging quite low down over the pubic area, where now and excess with some back rolls as well. Some back rolls, and that's all been addressed with some liposuction and some skin tightening. The skin tightening part is still something which is in evolution. It really shows itself after more 6 months. And then Nthabiseng, if you turn again to the front, that's where we removed the excess skin. We had to then do a tummy tuck there to cut it away. If you just do liposuction with that amount of excess skin, it's not going to shrink back up to conform to the muscle and bone structure. So that had to be, unfortunately, removed by cutting it away and replaced with a scar. But unfortunately, that is the only way we could address that. And that really has addressed more her waist, hourglass figure. We did also do some liposuction, contouring of the arm, again with the Renuvion, which is a skin tightening technology. So again, even though there is still some residual loose skin, we're still anticipating that to tighten up over time as the technology does its work. And the other part also, which was then the second stage, is the breast lift. And again, the breasts were hanging and drooping quite low down, quite close to the belly button, and concealing a lot of her shape and her tummy. So after the breast lift, all of that has come together nicely now, creating more of an hourglass silhouette and figure. But a breast augmentation, a placement of an implant, can probably range, I would say, from probably the 50,000s all the way up to probably 80 to 90,000 if it's just placement of an implant. If it's a lift with an implant, then you're probably looking at, again, there between 70 to 80,000 all the way up to about 120,000. If it's a reduction, they're also probably in the order of, I would say, 70 or 80,000 to about 100, 110,000. If you're thinking about liposuction, if it's small area liposuction where you can potentially do it in the rooms for one, let's say, smallish area, it can probably be as little, well, if I say as little as, but starting at about 25 to 30,000. But if it is a 360, like we said, all around the body, then it can fetch up to about 110, 120,000.
It's not about addictive of the surgery. It's about how do you look. Just because if you were big like me, when you do your stomach, what about your back? What about your hands? What about your breast? So it's not about the surgery is addictive. It's about how do you look.
So with liposuction, we make tiny incisions and cuts in discrete areas to get access to where those fatty pockets are, the stubborn fats that we want to remove. We first put fluid into the space between the skin and the muscle where the fat is to be removed. And then you get different types of liposuction. Traditional, conventional liposuction, as it's also referred to, just puts in the fluid and then you jump to the last step where the fat is sucked out, extracted. But the type of liposuction I do is called vaso liposuction, and that just uses ultrasound energy to liquefy the fat so that when you get to the extraction part, when you suck out the fat, it flows out easier to have less bruising and discomfort to the patient. And what you want to have is good skin, what we call retraction, and that just means that the skin needs to shrink and be able to shrink. So younger people with better elasticity are usually more candidates for liposuction. But again, the other option or alternative is patients who maybe have a lot of stretch from multiple pregnancies or massive weight fluctuations in their adult state. Their liposuction might not suffice and you might create more loose skin by doing that. So there the skin is then physically taken, pulled tight, and then cut away what is in excess. These are all silicone implants. Silicone is it's got a more natural feel. The alternative is saline implants. They use that a lot of times in the States, the US. A silicone implant is a silicone shell, so an envelope, and it's filled with a silicone gel. So there you can see what the gel looks like. It's quite sticky, but just to demonstrate, when you hold it like that, it's not liquid silicone like it used to be in the 1960s when it was developed, that it can actually run and leak out into the body. So it's a gel, it remains where it's placed. A saline implant, then the one they use in the States, is a silicone shell, but it's filled with sterile salt water. But often the problem is that it can feel like a blown up water balloon. It can be quite tense. In some cases, if it's been underfilled, sometimes the people can hear the saline slosh on the inside of the body. So, and also there, if a leak or a rupture of an implant had to happen, so this is an example then of a ruptured implant. If it was saline, all that salt water leaks out. It doesn't cause any problems to the body, but there the patient would wake up the morning with one breast here, the other one's flat, and then it's quite a cosmetic dilemma that you want to have seen to as soon as possible. And there are actually a lot of people actually probably walking around who have what we call silent ruptures. So there is maybe a tear in a silicone implant, but they're not aware of it because it's a gel and because it's not spreading into the body. So this is a low profile. The profile just means how high the implant stands up or projects. So this is a low profile. We use this more for reconstruction to get symmetry. This is a moderate profile. So you'll see it's not as flat as this. It's got a little bit of a dome. Then you get a high profile. Now you'll see it's got more of a dome, more of a slightly ball effect. And then you get a very high profile. And with each profile difference, you get more than of that rounded shape. So in someone who wants to have more fullness in the upper pole, the upper portion of the breast, more of a cleavage effect, without having to wear an enhancing bra to achieve that, you'd probably opt, depending on the individual, for a high or even a very high profile implant. But someone who wants to have a more natural effect, probably a moderate profile implant.
Yeah, my friend, they always say to me, you owe Dr. Dion. I'm like, how can you say I owe Dr. Dion? The work Dr. Dion did on you, you need to go back and pay Dr. Dion again. I'm like, guys, I paid. But they like, no, Chomi, we think it's not enough. Most of people, they like to me, you look natural. You don't look that you did a surgery, but your body is beautiful. You look natural.